grab your goat, grab your magic wand, because it is time for the Witches Movie Coven.
Yay!
Yay!
That's us.
We're still working on that intro. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Witches Movie Coven, where witches talk about witches in witchy movies. My name is Patti Negri. I'm one of your hosts. You might know me from Ghost Adventures or Ghost Finders or my YouTube work with TFIL, Overnight Crew, or Bathroom Walls Across America. Some of my co-hosts will let you introduce yourselves, starting with Jason.
I'm Jason Mankey. You might know me because I've written 9 crazy books. One of them about Yule, Llewellyn's Little Book of Yule. And I'm so excited about that because this is my favorite time of year.
Courtney.
That's me. I'm Courtney Buckley. I am Ghostbait on Scared and Alone and proud member of this beautiful coven. And I'm so excited to be here again on a Wednesday.
Beautiful. Richard-Lael. Oh, sorry.
Hello. It says accompanied food. Okay. I was just reading Shrouded Grove. Yes, I'm Richard-Lael. That's one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I'd be. Anyway, I am known as the Gentleman Psychic. I've been on a lot of other things, but I'm a proud member of this coven, and also, of course, Scared and Alone. I'm not Ghostbait, but I'm there with Courtney Buckley
and Heather.
Another proud member of the coven. I am an author of the book on this topic, Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. And also I am an acquisitions editor at Llewellyn Worldwide and a journalist that covers the occult and tarot and all things witchy.
And we make up the Witches Movie Coven. We have some occasional amazing guests of our friends that come in and out, and every week's a new movie. And this week we are talking about Spirited Away. It's an anime film. It's a Japanese anime film. And I think what we're going to start out with is Richard-Lael's unbiased breakdown and synopsis of the film.
Do itashimoste.
No.
I think I said that correctly. It's I think thank you very much or welcome or come to my restaurant. I can't remember. I don't actually speak Japanese. Nonetheless, this film, speaking of Japanese, is a Japanese film that is, of course, translated into English. It's a story about a family who has moved away from their home, and they have tried to comfort their little girl, and they have given her a goodbye note and flowers, and she's in the back seat, and they are trying, they're trying to comfort the fact that she is leaving behind all of her friends, all of her loved ones, everything that she's ever known. And they try to comfort her, but they end up by getting lost on this little mountain, and they think, well, maybe we'll just cut through this building in the middle of nowhere. Maybe we can go through there. And then it turns out that when they go through this time portal or this portal, they end up going into this village. They think it's a theme park, and there's no one around. Nobody is around, but the parents are hungry. So they come, they smell this food, they come to this restaurant, and they start eating and eating and eating and eating. And they tell the little girl, come, it's good. And she intrinsically feels that there is something not quite right. And then she steals away from them. She ends up by going to a bathhouse, not the kind of bathhouse in Soho, mind you, not the kind that I attend. That's a whole other story completely. But she goes to this bathhouse, which is she's met by this young guy, and he warns her. He says, you've got to get out of here. You've got to get out of here before sundown. You've got to get out. But it's too late. She goes in to find her parents, and they have been turned into swine, much like most parents in the South. That does happen. That's neither here nor there. So she doesn't make it out in time, and this ship comes in because the water has filled up. This ship comes in, and spirits get off. Spirits get off the boat, and they go to the bathhouse, not the kind that I would. Anyway, they go to the bathhouse, and she is warned, you have to get a job. You have to go and get a job. So it turns out she does pursue, she pushes and pushes and pushes. She gets a job, hard work in this bathhouse. But the only way that she can do so is by signing away her name. This is how the witch, the main person, is able to control people, is she takes away their name. Long story short, the boy she has met actually is a dragon who is actually also a river. That's at the end of it. You don't so she goes through adventures. There's another dragon spirit that smells really badly. She lets another spirit in that has the most complex dialogue. And I don't mean to take this away from Courtney, because I know that Courtney is going to give a quote. That's Courtney. I'm sure that's Courtney's quote. This thing and this monster, actually, this thing, while it's in the bathhouse, it gets crazy, and it gives gold, and it gives all kinds of things. But in the end of the story, the boy remembers who he is, who's the river that doesn't exist. He's the spirit of the river, and she goes willingly back to this place to take care of. She has this one final challenge, because the baby, who is a giant, who is a gnat, was turned into a rat. And I don't know. It's Japanese. I don't know. But anyway, she says, no, I'll go through your final, I'll do it. I can go through your test. And she says, you need to figure out which one of these pigs, or which two of these pigs, are your parents. And she says, none of them are my parents. And then, of course, everyone rejoices, because now she is spirited away. They are brought back through to the mortal realm, and they think it's only been the afternoon, but the car is now covered in dust, and they get back on the road to the house, which they were trying to beat the movers, and clearly they were there for enough time for dust to accumulate. And that was the end of the credits. That's it.
Yay!
And almost as much as I do now.
Some of your best work ever. Great job.
Konnichiwa.
That sounds good to me. Okay. All right. Heather, I don't know, this would probably not be in your book, but do you have the academic read upon this?
Yeah, there's some things I can say. It was not in my book. It's not an American movie, and that was my focus. But this is a very important movie in animation, and I love animation. Coming out in 2001, it actually won an Academy Award for Best Feature, Animated Feature in 2003, and it became the first. And I don't know if it's the only, it may still be the only one. And I didn't research that has won that in English, not an English language animated film. It is the most celebrated and most popular of any non-English, non-American movie, animated movie made. It was successful across the board. It won an award, I believe, in Italy or the UK, Germany, excuse me. It won an award in Germany as well. So it was seen as, it took Japanese animation to a new level of acceptance across the world. This wasn't the first movie made by Studio Ghibli. They had also done Princess Mononoke, which had been released across the world, which had some success. Princess Mononoke is, I've seen that one. It's personally not as good as this one, but is equally, it's very similar in its feel. And there were several others. Kiki Delivery Service. Studio Ghibli had a legacy already at this point, as well as the director, Miyazaki. But at this point, this film is what put them over the map. And the one thing that's interesting about it is it's not only the success and the beauty of this film that did it. You have to think of timing. Okay. So this film is 2001. And in terms of Disney at this time, Disney is obviously the behemoth in the US and the standard bearer, if you want to say, for animated films, for better or for worse. At this point in Disney's legacy and its history, it had sunk again. So Disney was very successful in the late 80s and 90s. We had Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and Lion King and this and this. By 2001, Disney had started to falter as far as animated films. There are some that were successful, but it wasn't hitting it out of the ballpark, as it were, at this point in time. So there was an opportunity here. This is when Disney started to work with other studios. It started to work with Toy Story. Pixar, thank you. It started to reach out to in other opportunities. Things were in transition. They were also getting really into the television stuff, Disney Channel and all these other live actions. Things were in transition. So it was an opportunity for Studio Ghibli to come on the scene with something different and push the envelope. It also was a time when paranormal was very, very popular. Just generally speaking, if you read my book, you'll see that in the US that we had a lot of witch films, and paranormal stuff was extremely popular at the time. This is the time of the popularity of things like Blair Witch Project, and there were a lot of ghost witch films, and it just sort of hit at this point. So it was a really good timing for it, as well as just, a pinnacle of the success of the actual production of the film and what they did with it. So I think that's sort of the crux of it. I think it was the most successful animated let me see, hang on a second. I think it was the most successful Japanese animated film worldwide until I think Demon Slayer may have eclipsed that, which is more recent. Demon Slayer eclipsed it. But I think the other thing to stress, and I think we'll talk about this, and I'll talk about this a lot, is the content of this film is very interesting. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that as it relates to Shinto, as it relates to magic, as it relates to Japanese understanding of witchcraft, which is very different and beautifully expressed in this film, which is very different from what we see in American films. But before I get to that, I'll leave that to the discussion and talk about that later.
Thank you. Thank you. That is beautiful. All right. So there it is, Spirited Away. Who wants to go first? Courtney, you heard her hand up first.
Well, that's me. So I have to say, I had not seen this movie before tonight, even though I had been told so many times that I needed to watch it. I did. My experience with Studio Ghibli, obviously Kiki's Delivery Service, but Ponyo was actually really big in my house. That was from, I think, like 2008. And I happened upon that DVD at a gas station when my son was very little. So I bought it for like $2 or whatever it was, brought it home, put it on. And I used to joke it was like baby crack. Like this child who'd never sat still for 3 seconds in his life would sit there and like watch it and was mesmerized and couldn't move. And we ended up I had to buy the DVD like 16 times because we wore it out so many times. So I knew going into this that I would have feelings about it because I think Studio Ghibli makes beautiful movies. But I was very surprised as I was watching it. My ADD was all over the place tonight. I thought, oh, I just can't. It's 2 hours long. I can't get into this movie. And it came on, and all of a sudden, it was like baby crack. Like I was like, and I couldn't stop staring at it. And it was just, I was like, it was literally like I was being sedated while I was watching it, but in a great way. Like it was so captivating, and I didn't understand every minute of it, but I was literally in it. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I couldn't anything. And I felt like I was channeling both Patti and Richard-Lael because I started it while I was out running errands. So I had it up in the car and I was just listening to it. But the minute I stopped, I sat in a parking lot with my phone, and that's where I watched it because I couldn't drive. I couldn't move. I couldn't pause it because I was too deep in it. And I had to just sit in the parking lot like a weirdo and watch it. And I'm so glad that I made the choice today instead of like renting it or trying to stream it somewhere else. I bought it because I had a feeling that I would watch it over and over again. And I cannot wait to show this to my son because I think now that he's older, this is going to be his new Ponyo. But it was like, it just felt like magic. Like, I know we're going to talk about the witchcraft aspect of it, but the movie itself was magic. That's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jason.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that Courtney stopped driving while watching the movie. That's always really frightening when I hear somebody telling me that they're watching these movies while in their car.
Listening,
grew up
not watching. Listening.
Yeah. No, you're missing so much just by
I
listening.
know. That's why I pulled over.
I grew up watching a lot of Japanese cartoons when I was a kid, but they were all very old cartoons. Speed Racer, Battle of the Planets, sometimes called G-Force. And I loved that stuff. As I got older, though, I really drifted away from watching Japanese things. And because of that, this was really alien to me because I had not really watched a Japanese film in over 20 years until earlier today. And I can't say that I understood all of the film, but it was beautiful. And there is this real attention to detail. Like a lot of films, you see people walking and you don't ever hear their footsteps. Every time people walk in this film, you hear their footsteps. And you hear their footsteps in this really very realistic way, like when they're running upstairs. It's boop, 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 boop. Like how humans actually run upstairs. And it was such a little weird thing to focus on, but I focused on that a lot because it just showed the level of craft that the filmmakers put into this film and the attention to detail that was in this film. My only real complaint probably would be it feels like a bunch of little mini movies kind of stuck together in places, because you'll have a point for like 20 minutes and then it sort of moves on to the next plot point. And there were times I was like, oh, that must be the end of it. You know, she fixed the polluted monster. And we're only halfway done with the film at that point. So to me, it kind of felt like little segments. But it's unlike anything else I have ever watched, both for better and for worse.
Thank you. Richard-Lael?
You know what? I did get into it. I had not watched a Japanese film in a very long time, like Jason. It was beautiful. It was I loved that it was. You could see that it was hand drawn, but it was beautiful. The colors were beautiful. The small nuances were beautiful. I loved the fact that the villain, who was the witch, had a twin sister who was also a witch. I thought that was brilliant. And of course, it plays on the good witch and the bad witch, even though the bad witch really wasn't that bad when you get down to it. Yes, she did steal someone's name, and names do have power. You know, it was Shakespeare who said, "A rose by any other name, would it still smell as sweet?" Well, if you named that rose dog poo, that no, it would not. The association would change you. So, and I did like that aspect from someone whose name is Richard-Lael. It's a mouthful. It's a big name, but for me, it does denote a certain amount of power. And when one has their name, it is a powerful thing. So I thought it was really a beautiful thing that they incorporated the power of the name.
Thank you. All right, I will go next because I know Heather's going to have a lot more to say. All I kept thinking the whole over 2 hours of the film is, I wish somebody would have told me I should have been high when I watched it. I would have had so much more fun when, wow, what did that turn? Wow, what is that? Where did that come? I mean, I'm not a big stoner by any means. I don't think I've gotten high this entire year, but the whole movie I was going, this would be so much more fun. But besides that, I am not an anime person. I'm not an animated person. I'm not a Japanese film person. I'm very limited in my world, but I loved it. I actually love the color, and what I loved is the emotion. So the pretty things, and I noticed the footsteps too, Jay. I did notice the footsteps because there's so much walking and focus on the little feet, the little girl feet, the little bare feet. There's feet focus. But it's just the emotions, you felt it. The little girl for an anime piece like that, it was really great. It maybe was a little long, and maybe next time I'm going to smoke a joint. I will watch it again. Mushrooms would be probably way better, but just saying. I like the magic, and I just like the where the heck did that come from kind of weirdness. I've never seen anything like it, and I've seen some weird films too, but nothing like this before, and I enjoyed every second of that. I could have enjoyed it more. But that's it. That's all I have to say about that whole movie.
Wands down because you weren't baked while you watched
I
it.
know. Yeah. All right. Heather, it's up to you.
Oh, well, okay. So, just for context, my I have a family of children who are big fans of anime. One in particular who is who I called to get to. He's also a Japanese studies major, so he gave me some of the words and how to pronounce them and some context and stuff just to fill in some blanks for me and reminders. And I also, just for another context, I've done several articles researching for various reasons, witchcraft and Satanism in Japan and what that looks like. I did a whole article and did some research on that, as well as doll culture and some other things. And so it really fascinates me going into this. So when my daughter said, we've got to watch this movie and we've got to do, so we do a film back and forth thing, and she was choosing these Studio Ghibli movies, and this was a year ago. So we started watching them, and when I saw this one, all of them are beautiful. I mean, hands down, it's a different experience, and it is an experience, and in a way that a Disney movie is not an experience. So this one is definitely my favorite. Princess Mononoke so far is my second, so far of the ones I've seen. There's a lot to talk about here because it's so different, coming from a very different culture. This is not a Western culture. This is not the Western understanding of magic, spirit, witchcraft, any of the things. If you notice the witches, even the bad witch, she's bad and she's problematic, but is she that bad? She does save her area from the big no face character. She does, and she does have the thing with the sister, and when you have a witch in Howl's Moving Castle, the same thing. She's bad, but then she corrects. So it's not a pure black and white. There's not a pure fight between good and evil that you find in Western films and Western animation and Disney animation, which makes this different. It's also filled with, when she goes into the spirit world, she's entering a world of spirits and deity and other types of creatures and things that are known in Japan as part of their folk culture. So a lot of the things that we don't recognize are very recognizable to Japanese children and Japanese audiences. This was not meant for children, it was meant for a general audience. So what I was talking to my son about is the name in Japan is Sento Chihiro no Kamikakushi. And so Sen is her name. To Chihiro is Sen and Chihiro. That's Sen, her name when she is the name she was given. Chihiro is her name, the little girl's name. No, and it's a possessive. So Sen to Chihiro is Kamikakushi, and that is, Kami is gods or spirits. Kami is a god or spirit. And he said that Kakushi is disappearance. So that basically it says experience this possession, this not possession, this they're taken away by the spirits. And this is something in this Kamikakushi is something in Japan. It's known. It's something there. It's part of their culture that if children go missing, they could be taken by the spirits, similar to Irish tradition where fairies could take children. So there's a lot to this movie that maybe misses us, which may make it seem silly at times, or like you need to smoke a joint. But there is so much folk culture in here. The radish deity or the radish spirit. There's doll mentions, and doll culture is a huge, and doll spirit culture is a huge thing. Oshirasama, which are protective dolls, those are in there, as well as Kamaji, the spider deity, and the river deity Haku. I mean, this is chock filled with this culture that some of it is missed on us. So I just find this so fascinating on that level. And then on it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And the music, I mean, if you just sit and listen to the music, that's probably one of the reasons, Courtney, you were just like calmed, because the music just is so beautiful. So this is a movie on a level it's for me, it is. I was just taken aback. I'm like, this is a different type of animation for me. Intellectually as a film person, yes, just and fascinated with Shinto and Japanese culture and its relationship to spirit and magic hits that. So I think it's, for me, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film, and I'm very thankful for my daughter for saying, "Sit down and watch this," because I hadn't seen it, until she said, "Let's do it." So that's my short version of a lecture that I could do for 2 hours.
That is beautiful. I'm not a parent, so I can't speak from a parent perspective on this. But if I was a kid, I would have been really scared watching this movie. It seems not, I mean, I know there's always the bad people in kids' movies and fairy tales and children, but this seems like it was scary.
So that's actually something that, I'm sorry, Heather.
No.
That's actually something that I was told when my son was obsessed with Ponyo, because he was very, very little. And when I'd talk about Ponyo and people would say, oh, if you love that, you should watch this, Spirited Away, but don't let him watch it because he'll have nightmares. Like, it's very scary for a little kid, but you as a grown-up will love it.
Well, I just want to compare it. Well, the no face who has a name, he gave me his name, Kawanashi. He's kind of scary, but I would want to compare it, and maybe we can discuss it, is the difference between this and Coco, because we have in both cases animated film where a child is sucked into the spirit world and has to learn how to deal with getting back and figuring out how to live there. And it's a similar type of, but it's such a different movie. So, but you have the same type of thing.
Yeah, but
Fear-wise.
Coco was not scary. Like, this was monster scary. Coco
Well,
was,
But
yeah,
but it is.
Coco.
I don't know a whole lot about Japanese culture, but I do know, studying demons and demonology, they have a funny sense about demons. In fact, there is a demon whose sole purpose, it's shaped like a leg, and its sole purpose is to kick passers by. So if you're walking in Japan and somebody kicks you and there's nobody there, it's this Japanese demon. Also, there's a demon who just washes a leaf in a creek. Like, that's all the demon does. And many years ago, a friend of mine was visiting Japan, and he said that he himself had felt much more connected to the spirit world, and he himself felt much more clairvoyant. He would tell his partner, he said to her, okay, he'd never been to Japan before. He says, okay, 3 blocks. When we get there, there's going to be this person carrying 3 bags, and then we'll turn, and then there'll be an orange cat. And like, they would get there, and she went, how are you doing this? What is this? So Japan itself is it's very magical place. I don't think that if you are Japanese, or I don't think if you're in the Japanese culture, that it would be as scary as it would be to a Western.
No.
Yeah.
So, because Japan I mean, when you look at their temples, they have all of those beautiful dragons, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I think that it's part of their culture that they just don't see it as scary as we would.
And that's true from everything I've read. And if you look at some of the articles I've written, the one where I interviewed the woman who she's a friend of she calls herself friend of Satanists, and she spends a lot of time there and gave me a really good look, as well as there's an academic that studies Wicca. There's the percentage of Christians in Japan is like 1.2%. So that black and white culture, I'll say that better, this polarity between good and evil that we experience in Western culture does not exist there. And Shinto is it's an animistic culture, and Shinto is the way of the kami. So it's the way of deity and spirit. It's not religion, so to speak. It's the way. And this spirit is in everything. It's in a leg that kicks you on the subway, or it's in the trees. It's true part of that culture, which is absolutely fascinating. And that's why dolls that are over 100 years old may suddenly walk over and say hello. And it doesn't mean, it's true.
Sorry,
Watch
Courtney's
her.
face.
Say, look, Gladys,
No.
I brought my over 100-year-old doll just in case she's watching y'all.
I'll let you know I've been watching Gladys like a hawk because I know she's gonna move behind you, and I'm ready. I'm ready to call her out.
She's just waving to Patty's doll.
I know to Belle, who's over 100 years old too, and she was upstairs for a few days. I brought her back for this, so that's good.
See, so it's a totally. You're right, Richard-Lael. It's when you start, and I brought this book. This is fascinating. Is yokai is the spirits. It talks all about yokai culture, and they don't have a need for a lot of the stuff. It's just so different, and I think you're right. I don't think Japanese children are going to be afraid of this stuff because it's from their culture and their folklore, and they have a different relationship to spirit than we do. We're taught be afraid of the Cabbage Patch Kid doll. Be afraid of. It's different there.
And also, and besides that, still, I mean, he was a beautiful dragon, by the way. As a girl who's all about dragons, he was a beautiful dragon. But
he was.
His blood was a little bloody. Again, to me, I kept going, I don't want to be a kid and I want to be high. But his blood was kind of gory for anime, or at least in my little brain.
Well, for anime, no, it's not.
No.
Right.
With all due respect, for anime, because it's anime is a certain it's an Asianic thing. For animation, yes, it's not Disney. It's not Warner Brothers. It's not dropping an anvil on Wile E. Coyote. It's not none of that. It is more bloody, but anime. But they're hyper realistic. I mean, this is the country that brought us Godzilla and Godzilla 2 and Godzilla
127.
Mothra
and the Power Rangers, and so they and even Transformers, by the way, which is Japanese. So they have a different view on the life force of blood, and it's not suited for Western cultures, but it's not made for Western culture.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that too. Like not dumbing things down for America, right? Like showing something that's completely different and not being afraid to show something that's completely different and is representative of your culture and how you perceive the world. I think so many things are kind of put through that American, European prism. And it's much more interesting when we can get away from that prism.
What's interesting about that? Oh, go ahead, Patty. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Mine's
no. What's interesting about that is there was and I can't remember the film at this time. One of the other Studio Ghibli films, I think, they made a deal at some point before this movie. And before I think Princess Mononoke, even they made a deal with Disney for them to do the North American distribution. And apparently one of the earlier movies, and I don't remember which one, that when it got to the distribution level, Disney or whoever Disney was working with did some edits to make it more palpable. And maybe it was Princess Mononoke. I don't remember. Anyway, they edited it to make it more palpable for US audiences. And it was not overly successful. It was okay. So it didn't work. No, I'm sorry. They did it, and I don't remember what happened. But then he said that it was Princess Mononoke. He said, "Don't release it. I'm not going. Do not." He sent the guy a samurai sword and said, "Do not make any edits to this one." And he sent it with a note on a samurai sword. So I think it was Princess Mononoke said they released that film, and it didn't do as well. It was okay. But they did not edit to this one either. But they were trying. Disney was trying to do that, so they wound up with a tense relationship there between Disney and Studio Ghibli in the distribution of these films. But you're right; they should not edit them. And if Americans can't take it,
watch something else.
Find something else. Yeah.
This week Americans. I actually, on that Japanese Americanization, I saw the Japanese version. I watched a second of that. And then I chose to do the American dubbed version. And partway through, I sort of wished I hadn't, because their American accents and their just way of speaking was so American. Abado, come back over here, little girl. And it sounded that maybe had I watched the Japanese version with subtitles, I might have liked it better. I'm not sure. because they did
I
sound
thought
so American.
I thought the American voice cast was terrific, though.
They
Oh,
were
no,
a lot of
mostly
times
famous
too.
actors, weren't they?
Yeah, they were mostly famous actors, usually kind of older, like Suzanne Pleshette from Newhart was the voice of the witch, for instance. But I thought they were great. I think part of my problem is like I had a bunch of college roommates who would watch anime, and the voices they were using were so weird in English that they didn't speak like we speak, right? So it sounded really strange to my ears. But this, I thought that using these voice actors really brought me into the story because they were speaking in a way that I understood. Tara Strong was one of the voice actresses who's in like everything and is pretty famous for being a voice actress. I thought it was like a really good cast.
Yeah,
and
no,
it was something that I appreciated.
I thought it was a good cast, and I thought they were good actors. And I said it was all about the emotion for me, so that means they had to be good actors to feel it. It just seemed American.
Yeah. I think too, like I know we're not talking about Ponyo, but to bring Ponyo up again, because we're talking about Studio Ghibli, that was one of the things that made me like it, I think, or give it a shot, was because the amount of famous actors who voiced characters in that movie. It was like Matt Damon, Tina Fey, Betty White, like everybody was in it. And it's like Liam Neeson. Like it's like I started watching that by trying to pick out who was who, and then got sucked into it. And then the same thing happened with this movie, because I don't know who it was, but the mother's voice in the beginning I recognized, and I was like listening to try to figure it out. But I think I love that. Like I think that adds to like the silliness of it, and it's not a silly movie. It's very serious, but it's enough to like, I don't know if it's my ADD, but like just to keep me entertained, how silly their voices are in comparison to what they're doing. So I mean, I don't disagree. I think they are very American, but I mean, I thought it was enjoyable. And if I can too, I think as we're talking about this, something that kind of struck me where we're talking about like in Japanese culture, that this is just the way. It's less black and white, it's less good and evil, and it's just everything has a place. I feel like too, the more I think about it, that's how I practice witchcraft. Like I joke about hexing people. It's not really a joke because I do, but it's not in like a, it's going to sound silly to say this, it's not like a negative, like I just want to wreak havoc on the world kind of a way, but like I think that there's a place for everything, and that's it's very gray, it's not black and white. And I think that might be part of what I connected to with this, was like watching her, the way that she everyone would be scared of the thing, or everyone would be treating the problem in some sort of way, and she would just approach it like herself, and let's solve the problem, and I'm going to figure it out, and not be she was scared but she wasn't outwardly scared, or she would just do what she was told, or she would do whatever it took to get to the next goal. It was the way that she treated things, I think, for me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was just it was very like, okay, fine, let's just do this, like we'll just do what we need to do. And that spoke to the witch in me, I think, because that's how I practice. And so I think that was really what I connected with.
Beautiful.
Note to self again: don't upset Courtney. Sorry, I just always like to remind myself. I don't want to be hexed from Massachusetts.
You'll feel it coming
from Salem, no doubt.
Yeah.
The one
I just sort of figured out what the English. I think the one that bothered me the most was the mom, and yes, because it was so American English, but also because I felt the little girl had, it's like an acting review, the little girl had so much emotion, and mom had like no sympathy or empathy, or she was not, I would not want that mom, even when they were first arriving, and then afterwards it was like, doesn't mom have a heart? I understand you urge your kid into a dark tunnel and do this, but I didn't feel it.
No, and I think too, like the little girl had such a growth too, because in the beginning I was like, I can't watch this movie because she is so annoying, and I like she's just whining and whining and whining, and then at some point in the movie she stopped whining and she started doing the things that she needed to do and being strong, and like was filled with love, and I'm a sucker for love, so filled with love and filled with bravery and filled with whatever, and there she goes, and now she's off, and she wasn't whining anymore. And then when she came back and the parents were still just so apathetic and ridiculous, and she was this whole changed new person, and the mother said, so like, stop clinging to me, I'm gonna trip. And I was just like, are you joking? Like, please, you want to talk about who's getting hexed from Salem, Jason? It's not you. It's Mom from Spirited Away.
I'm with ya. I'm with ya.
Yeah.
I want to jump in and just give a shout out to Robert Hicks, one of our regular Coven members, who did point out to me earlier in the week that there is a live action play of this, a stage play of this movie. You can actually see it, and you can rent it on Amazon, I believe. And it is in Japanese. It doesn't have subtitles because I tried and my son was not around. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to sit through this because I don't understand it. But it is there if you can speak Japanese. There is, and I think they began it in 2022 as a tribute, as a 20-year anniversary of the film. And the success of it is, I think, why they did the stage play. And it is all in Japanese. So that is there. And the other thing, there's also someone talking about Buddhism in Japan too. And I just
this, yes, exactly that.
We can stop whining. That's funny. But I just wanted to say that someone's pointing out Buddhism too, because we've mentioned Shinto. And yes, from the research I did, Japan is there's Buddhism as well as, from everything from the people that I've spoken to there, their relationship to religion and to magic and to spirit is very different. Again, they don't wear it on their sleeve like we have here. People laugh about us being a secular nation when really everybody wears their religion on their sleeve here. It's very different. It's not like that. People won't necessarily claim a religion necessarily because these things are just the way. It's like Shinto is just the way of the kami. So, and the same with Buddhism. So it's a very different relationship to religion and spirituality they have there as well. But yeah, Buddhism is a big one. Buddhism and Shinto are the two big paths there. Let's call them that.
And not in opposition to each other either. Like,
no.
People often do both because, as Heather keeps saying, Shinto is the way. It's just a part of life.
Mm-hmm. Just a way.
Yeah.
What's the Disney? That's the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
From The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian. This is the way.
You didn't get that right.
Sorry. I watched the whole first season, Courtney. I watched the whole first season. I was a big Star Wars fan, so I did watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian theme, if it helps, Courtney, the Mandalorian theme is my ringtone on my phone.
Oh, Jason, you never have to worry about a hex from Salem because of that. You can turn your light off on me and everything, and still that's going to save you.
Yeah. The rest of us, not so much.
No.
We have 15 minutes left tonight. Who knows? Who will the light be turned off on?
Who knows where we go? Okay. Well, I don't know if there's more to discuss. Thank you, everybody who's who's real active with your thoughts and everything in the chat room. That's what makes us very, very, very happy. And I guess maybe we are actually up to rating this film.
Quotes. We need quotes.
Oh,
quotes,
yeah. And a Jason movie minute.
Stop it.
There's a lot.
Faceless monster. Okay. Quotes and then the movie minute. Oh,
all right. So I'm going to start off with one because most of mine that I pulled were really fun. I thought I pulled them because they were really funny, but there was one that I thought was really just, I simmered with it and it was just very profound. So it was the Good Witch, the twin sister, who said, once you do something, you never forget, even if you can't remember. And I thought that, like, the more I thought on that, the more I was like, oh, wow. Like, that was deep. I really liked it. My favorite quote of the whole movie was actually a song. And I don't remember how it goes, like the tune of it. But hold on, let me pull it up here. Hold on. Oh, boy, this is embarrassing. Oh,
it's probably better for licensing.
Welcome the rich man. He's hard for you to miss. His butt keeps getting bigger, so there's plenty there to kiss.
Yes.
That was good.
I like that one. When she turned him into a mouse and said, "There, your body matches your brain." There's another time when she said, "Don't talk or I'll rip your mouth out." I'm going to say that from now on. Hold on. Sorry I called you a dope before. I take it back. When No Face spit out the people and they said, "What an esophagus." Like, okay. You better get here before I forget what my parents look like. I hope Dad hasn't gotten too fat. And then there was just like random things that like they would just like catch my breath. Like when she like approached the door and she tried to open it when she was going into the witch's like lair, and then the door knocker starts talking, and it was like, "Aren't you ever gonna knock? You're the most pathetic little girl I've ever seen." And I was like, whoa, like, and they kept calling her rude and like everything else, which I thought was great because I did think she was rude in the beginning, but they kept calling her out, which I thought was really great. But yeah, the song was my favorite. So those are oh, and then I did have the I wanted to talk about, but I already did the "Don't cling like that, you'll make me trip," which I was like offended by, honestly, because that mother is terrible. And as Richard-Lael brought up earlier, I did make a comment about the because I was like, listen, Amazon told me that this was a 7-year-old plus film, not NC-17. So let's stop making noises like that. Those are my quotes.
I did not get sexual out of that at all, Courtney.
Every 3 seconds it was like, and I was like, I don't know. I'm touch starved. It happens. So. I need to be hugged more, and then maybe I won't think like that.
We're hugging. Everybody out there, hug Courtney now.
Virtual hugs for Courtney.
Now it sounds like a goat. Look, see, it's me and Black Phillip.
It's Black Phillip serenading you, Courtney.
Yeah, now I hear it. See? Entirely different. All those hugs helped.
All right. So I am so sorry. I almost forgot that. I'm glad you guys kicked me in the butt. All right. Then you are on, sir.
Well, this is how we make the show an hour with all these extra things now. All right. I will admit before I start, I admitted to not completely understanding this movie. So here we go. Step into a world Jason is probably not smart enough to understand, and be spirited away to a movie unlike anything else you've ever seen. Delight in watching people eat weird food. Is that a chicken? Why is that Twinkie furry? Here's a delicacy for you, a delicious dried lizard. Come on, at least let me lick the tail. Learn the ins and outs of cleaning bathtubs and how you can get an herbal soap token to immediately clean the spirit world's grimiest tubs ever. Really, that tub was gross. And frogs everywhere. So many frog people. Only some of them don't really look like frog people, even though they are frog people. And these frogs apparently eat bacon. In the spirit world, the food chain is completely rearranged. And if frogs and bathtubs and furry Twinkies aren't enough, here's a gigantic baby threatening to cry. Seriously, it's the largest baby you will ever see. And prepare for some vomit, like lots of vomit. Things vomit in this movie to such an unhealthy degree. Do not, I repeat, do not try to eat breakfast watching this movie. But once you get past the food, the frog, the pigs, the bathtubs, and the vomit, you will find yourself completely lost in a world completely like any other. Unlike any other. From the beautiful storyboards to the captivating music to the powerful voice acting performances, you won't be able to take your eyes and ears off of this film. And the vomit. And of course, the frogs.
Yay!
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh,
I like that girl too. I totally forgot about her, the lizard girl.
Yeah, like Would you like to eat this? I want to eat the lizard. I want to eat the lizard. Please let me lick the tail.
Humans.
That just really stuck out to me, and the smell of humans.
Humans stink. All right. Well, now we've caught up. So now it is time. Grab your wand or whatever you're using of the day. Ballpoint pen. And everybody out there, wands up or wands down for Spirited Away.
Oh, you're being spirited away. I think they're being spirited away.
Up.
No, Richard-Lael. No, Richard-Lael. Stay with us. No Kami Kakushi.
Up. We got Matthew wands way up.
Way up. I'm with that. I'm with Matthew. Way up.
Wands up.
Yeah.
Up. We had a neutral or a down yet? I don't think so.
No neutrals, no down.
No.
Up, chopsticks up. Yes, haven't seen it yet. You will. Let us know next week. Wands up. Sky high. All right. This may be our first unanimous. Not even any neutrals. That's kind of huge. That is kind of huge. A little
It's
biased.
no Witch of the Sea, but it's okay.
That's true.
We are gonna have to do that movie.
You know what?
I've
I've
talked about it so long.
I've resigned myself to the fact that it's coming eventually, so I will be prepared.
Now, what season of the year would be the best for that film?
Whatever season makes you want to close your eyes and scream.
Summer. It's ocean.
Okay,
It's-
summer. Okay.
What's the best season for the horrible scene that's in it? Because there's no good season for that. That's the one I woke up to.
Maybe one day with all our merch, we want people to go buy t-shirts and tennis shoes and panties and things. Maybe we should have a cover your eye, like a plastic things for the scary.
Oh, I would buy that.
Witch's Movie Coven, like eye block. You can
Yeah.
put it up and down as you need to.
Mhm,
I think
like
we're
it.
gonna have to work on that.
Oh.
Producer.
Alicia said winter for seasonal depression. I think that's valid.
Let's go.
The Witch of the Sea for seasonal depression.
Yeah, because that movie is gonna make you seasonally depressed all seasons.
It's seasonal depression.
Yeah, when you see it.
Seasonal.
No.
Oh goodness me.
All right. Well, next week, before doing a check-in, we all decided on moments before going live on The Killing Tree.
Yes.
Now, I don't know when that's from. Do we have to explain that any better to anybody, or is there just one Killing Tree? Thank you.
I'm
From
guessing
2022, The Killing Tree is a horror film set around a malicious Christmas tree who kills everyone who comes in contact with it. What more do you need for the holidays?
Listen,
Wow.
the reason I'm so excited about it, haven't seen it, never even heard of it. It's listed as comedy horror. We know how much I love that. So I
Yes,
am.
but we've had issues with that before. Remember?
When
We haven't-
Amazon lied to me, I'm not looking at Amazon. I'm looking at IMDb.
All right.
I mean, everything has to be better than Your Highness, though, right? I mean,
How
bad could
dare
it
you?
possibly
It
be?
didn't even take 15 minutes. The curse is coming. Here I go.
You're
Here's
done,
my
Jason.
headshot.
Doesn't matter if you have the Mandalorian song on your
Nope.
phone. You're done.
You're done. You're done. All right. Well, I wish for next week's film we had the Cover Your Eyes for the Witches Movie Coven, but we won't. So you have to use your hand. All right. That is next week. Does anybody have anything coming up? What you guys out in the audience, we always go through what movies we want, and we have these little lists. We really want your input. We look at this chat line, whether we put it up or not. We would love your input on what movies we should do. We're writing them down. Witchy movies or something to do with witchy. Your Highness has reared his ugly head again.
Well, let's point out that
And-
Colin
and
did
it
not
is
say
quite
ugly
ugly.
head. No. Colin did not say ugly. Colin just said has reared his head. So thank you, Colin, because
Colin
I
meant to write ugly. I
Colin
think.
did not mean to write.
I saw
Colin does not want to get
Coraline.
cursed. Colin
Coraline.
does not want to hex Jason.
He's far away. Colin, you'd have to long distance curse hexing.
I'm good at that.
I'm sure you are. Watch out, Jason. The Adventures of Merlin. Yeah, you guys, we want your input on what you want to see, what you don't like. And anybody have anything coming up this next little bit of time that people should know about online or live or anything else?
I'm going to
watching that
be.
film, I have a lot coming up. Jason, I have a lot coming up. Thank you for that. Just kidding.
I'm gonna be in a virtual author forum with Llewellyn on December 15th at 2 p.m. Central Time. I think they're on Central Time, so they advertise everything that way, much to the confusion of most of the world. But yeah, so that's coming up on December 15th. So that'll be really fun. So that's it, though. That's just like the one thing.
Well, it's easy. Wonder Wheel. Are we looking at movies here? I don't know Carrie Fisher's Wonder Wheel. So this is Ghostlight. John Stimson's Ghostlight has witches, Coraline, Spiderwig. You guys are great. They're listening to us. All right. And Richard-Lael, you were starting to say something?
No, I was just making a joke about things coming up. I don't have anything coming up. I'm just here in New Orleans. It is my birthday coming up in December, and I know Jason's is in January, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
So
December
it's my
31st and January 4th. We're both coming right up.
And I think that for my birthday celebration, we'll be doing something on New Year's Eve. So if you're not doing anything, we'll do a Richard-Lael special. If you're not tired of seeing this face.
Who'd ever get
Never.
tired of
Never.
I mean,
Never.
Never.
that's neither here nor there.
I think
Count
that's
me in. That's my new favorite New Year's tradition.
Actually, do you know who gets tired of seeing my face? So when I change my facial hair, my phone ID gets tired of seeing my face, and now I can't get into any of my banking apps.
Oh no.
Really? I've never thought about that with facial hair. I wonder, can women change their hair? I mean, women do change their hair color. I wonder if that messes or it's just a face change. Dilemmas of modern living. Anyway, I have if anybody's in the Texas area or wants to be, on December 9th, coming right up, we are doing a holiday ghost hunt at the Old Park Hotel, which is spooky and great, doing the first seance there ever in this hotel from the late 1800s. So you can get it on all my social media at pattinegri.com. And in January, I'm going to be at the something tavern at Paracon, and I think it's in Pennsylvania, and a lot of fun people are coming to that too. So slowed down definitely, but you can come and play with me in December in Texas, and in, I think, Pennsylvania, Old something tavern, Hanover Tavern. Thank you, Hanover Tavern Inn. So anyway, that's what we know. We have a couple minutes left. Nobody else has anything coming up?
I did want to jump in and say that, first of all, just to respond to Raymond Ortiz, we did the Covenant, and you can look and see our show on the Covenant. That was a fun one, definitely. But I am on the board and organizer for Mystic South, which happens in July, and we just opened up the submissions for workshops and events. So if you love coming to Atlanta or in within or want to come in or in the area, go to that page, and please go to our website, mystic-south.com, I believe is what it is, Mystic South Conference, and submit something. I'm going to be doing a doll workshop, and I'm always there, and we talk witches, we do all the stuff. So definitely make that a priority. Check that out. And other than that, I'm laying low and doing the holiday thing with the family and working with my authors this month. So waiting for Richard-Lael's birthday. I'm already planning my outfit.
See?
Oh, yes.
And I not only am waiting for my birthday, I also, again, have all of my Christmas decorations up, which are none. I have none.
I was waiting for it.
All right, but speaking of Christmas or Hanukkah or Yule or Kwanzaa, some of these holidays have gifts, and if you are looking for a really great gift, we know where to go. Go to mysterycontrol.com. You too can have a Black Phillip shirt. You too can have a Richard-Lael pillow. You too can have some Patty's Power Panties, some Bro Witch pants, all sorts of magical things. Just go to mysterycontrol.com. You will see a whole Witches Movie Coven section. You will see, yes, those are dragon panties, which really look great on your head, Richard.
Such a handsome devil.
Such a handsome devil. It matches so. Do you ever take those underwear off that pillow?
Well, I was gonna wear them, but then now they live on Richard-Lael, so I'm gonna have to order
used underwear. You can't. I mean, it's on me, so you can't wear used underwear.
No, and I feel like I have to just order more because this is not the only pair of Patty's Power Panties that I own. So I'm just gonna have to. These are Richard-Lael's now, so I'm just gonna have to order more.
Right. Change your underwear, change your life. And if you guys remember, code Patty for 25% off. Code Patty, P-A-T-T-I, 25% off. Save money this holiday season. We are late. It is 7:00. We are overtime. We're not going to gobble this week. Never again.
Once a year.
Once a year we gobble. But instead we cackle. 1, 2, 3.